Good morning and welcome to this showcase event aptly named Leads to Billable Hours at LightSpeed, Optimize Professional Service Delivery in the Modern Workplace. Thank you for joining us here at HSO as we take a look at the challenges facing professional services organisations and some of the ways in which we can help to optimize your business in a modern setting. Firstly, let me introduce your team today before we move to look at the agenda. My name is Kevin Brown. I'm the Sales Director here at HSO, and I work closely with our customers and their teams to leverage technologies to drive digital efficiencies and revenue across their organizations. Really looking to turn their digital strategies or their business goals and providing a view of how technology can be used to enable those journeys. I'm also joined by Shilin. So Shilin is one of our business solution consultants here at HSO, and Shilin will be looking to bring to life and demonstrate the types of solutions and benefits we at HSO deliver to our customers on a frequent basis. Okay, so let's have a look at the agenda. It's a packed agenda for the next 45 minutes. I will begin by giving you a little background regarding HSO, who are we, what we're about, and how we've helped organizations in a professional services arena. We will then set the scene and take a look at the top discussions and challenges amongst professional services companies. What are the issues, what are the concerns, and what are the opportunities they're in? We will follow this by introducing you to our solutions and the solution stacks we leverage to empower our customers to do more in their chosen marketplace. I'll then look to hand over to Shilin, who will take you through live example scenarios of solutions in a high-level demonstration. We will then follow this up with customer examples, taking a closer look at some of our customers in the real world currently utilising this platform to meet their business needs. Before finally closing with some Q&A, your opportunity to raise key and important questions to yourself. We're excited to get started, so without further ado, let me jump in and tell you a little bit about HSO. So HSO, we're a 30-year-old privately funded global business, and our focus is around the Microsoft solutions set. So we're 100% focused on Microsoft solutions. We have presence within 60 countries, supporting 900 employees around the world. And we've grown our status with Microsoft to a strategic status, achieving Inner Circle, which is only achieved by 1% of all Microsoft partners worldwide. We work with many organizations across the globe and have the presence in the Americas, in the Far East, in Europe, and the UK and Australia. We work with our customers across the full spectrum of the digital journey, whether that's the envisioning of the aspirations for technology and the pivot that they're looking to achieve as an organization, their competitive strategy, or whether that's looking at business value, helping them to build the business and IT strategy through to program management and delivery and support of those solutions once delivered. And obviously not to forget adoption, driving business change and adoption throughout their organization. Absolutely key for any of these initiatives. Our business is geared to support our customers end to end. Whether we're helping them to shape or ideate, we want to help them at any point of that journey. And we've worked with a number of customers across a number of sectors, just to highlight a few here across manufacturing, services, distribution, and retail. Okay, in the interest of time, let me move on. So just to set the scenes with regards to professional services and what we're seeing, the service organizations are facing more external pressures than ever before, materializing from increased competition, compressed delivery times, and tighter margins. There's a period of major change compounded by those external pressures in driving significant transformation, pushing the market into a new area of service delivery, which is becoming more prone to disruption. The traditional professional services organization often manages its business via a variety of systems means, from complicated Excel workbooks and spreadsheets, to a plethora of post-its and paper files, to everyone's favorite Outlook folder structures for managing client information. But in reality, these are challenging to keep on top of and limit your ability to scale or pivot as a business should the need arise. A traditional professional services organization manages a vast amount of data points to ensure that they deliver against a customer's brief. And this is proving quite challenging with the traditional ways and methods of working, leading to key business pains as highlighted on this slide. The resulting list of scattered information, no centralization, lack of visibility of crossover relationships, inability to establish an overview of the business and how it's performing, and operational inefficiencies across processes and teams. Coupled with the backdrop of client expectations, changing resourcing models, disruption and competition. And these are not to be estimated. Clients expect more value, increased quality, lower cost, speed of delivery, accountability and transparency of cost. The changing workforce, becoming more flexible, on-demand workforce models, recruiting, training and managing resources, or even move to an outsource model, and managing the models and being able to pivot. And then the latter two, disruption and competition. Organizations now need to reimagine their operations, be lean, be agile. There are numerous digital-based challenges that are appearing in the marketplace. Tech-driven, just-in-time resourcing models with distributed workforces, driving a new way of working, increased competition, more nimble, more agile, more innovative business models, which are driving a real challenge within the traditional professional services setting. So here at HSO, we are working with organizations to really address those challenges, and we do so via the Microsoft Solution Platform, which is core to our offering. The Microsoft Solution Stack introduces a platform to support customer and their customers through the full life cycle, from acquisition to servicing and billing, and even MI, to understand the growth and health of the business. Microsoft Dynamics brings together a number of components. For example, specific lines of business applications, sales, marketing, and project operations, combining them with Office 365, Teams, for example, for seamless collaboration, or Power Apps for low-code, no-code solutions for building rapid applications, for example, Timesheets. These are underpinned by data and AI embedded solutions, and of course, all available on demand via the cloud, accessible anywhere, anytime, by any device. Today, we're going to be focusing on the highlighted areas, as these are key components to optimizing the professional services business. These components brought together will provide you a unified relationship data at a very base and core of your organization. It also embeds artificial intelligence to help you to drive a much more insightful way of driving your business. Prospecting, engagement, productivity and performance insights will come from use of this type of technology, allowing you to deliver value at the point of engagement, accelerating your time to quota, increase lead conversions to projects, increase revenue and stakeholder value. At HSO, we bring these components together to empower our customers to drive business activities seamlessly in an easy, familiar and flexible manner, enabling you to have intelligent conversations, helping teams and managers identify what's not working and correct, and plot a correction course, and better insight to formulate business strategies and decision making. The solutions help you to stay on top of key activities, streamline your business, and enable your business to adapt through customizations of the solution. Okay, I think it's time to jump into the solution. I will now hand you over to Shilin, who will walk you through a demonstration of the Microsoft solution. Over to you, Shilin.
Thanks, Kevin. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me in this demonstration. So as part of today's demonstration, I'll be walking you through the life cycle of a project through multiple roles. And this will be from the initial engagement of a sales rep right through to the delivery team through roles such as the project manager, the resources manager, as well as the resource themselves, and how they will interact with a PSA. So with that said, I want to start off with the role as a sales rep. Now, with my role, my main goal here is to win opportunities, win deals, making sure that we've got projects that we can deliver for the delivery team. And the start of my cycle essentially starts from a leads. When we're talking about new prospects, in coming to us asking about our services. Now, within my screen here, I'm starting off my journey within a lead record. So essentially, I'm just capturing bare basic information about this prospect. So things like who I'm speaking to, so the contact information, the company that they're associated with, and then using the business process flow as a way of supporting what I need to do as part of my sales process to progress to the next stage. So within the qualify stage, I've got a few bits of information that I need to gather as part of my qualification for this lead to then convert into an opportunity. Things like the purchase time frame, so when are they looking to deliver a project, what the customer's estimated budget is going to be, how we identify the decision maker, and so on. Now, if we've gathered all this information, we're happy that we can progress this lead into an opportunity. We can then convert this lead record into an opportunity, which will then create me the associated contact, the company, as well as the opportunity record itself. So as I convert the lead into an opportunity, what you'll see is the information that I've gathered passes through into the opportunity record without the need for double entry. Now, once we're in the opportunity stage, essentially we start communicating with our customers on what we actually want to be delivering as part of a project. And at this stage, we might not actually know the key information or the granular detail to build up an actual plan of what the opportunity would look like. But we would have some indication. And this is where we can use those estimates and high-level information to then start building up our opportunity lines. So what we're actually going to be delivering. So within the opportunity lines tab, within my opportunity, I've got two separate boxes here. I've got project-based lines, which is the services that I'm going to deliver. Now, within the service line, I can see, right, I'm going to be delivering a project. In this instance, it's going to be project ABC. We can define the billing method. So in this example, we've got a fixed price, and we know that the customer's got a budget of 20K. Now, if you're dealing with customers who have a time and material-based project, or you do time and material-based project, you can also use that as your billing method as part of your service lines. Then it comes down to this product-based line items as well. Now, if you're a company that also sells physical products, whether they're actual products that you have, such as machines or equipment, or it could even be products such as licenses, you can separate those lines between the actual service lines within your opportunity lines that you're creating. And essentially, this is all estimated figures that we're putting in here, and it's only really down into the quotation stage where we start really going into the granular detail of what this actual opportunity is going to be looking like. So if I progress this into the proposed stage, this is where the quotes come in. Now, with the quoting functionality within PSA, it gives us the ability to use project-based items and project templates as a way of really understanding how much this project is going to be costing us from the use of line templates, as I'll show you. So now we've got the requested delivery date in place. What we can do within the quote lines, we can actually start building up our project based upon project templates. So we can give us an actual idea of how much the project will actually cost us, rather than using the budgetary estimates that we pulled off from the opportunity. So we click into the project and we create a new project. And based upon the templates, we can then get figures on what this project will actually cost. So let's say this project is project C. Is this a template? No, it's not, but we are actually using a project template. In this instance, it's this project template here. And within the project template, what you'll see is we've got predefined tasks or activities, should I say, against this project plan with specific resources as well as time estimates to give us a base on when we start quoting for this opportunity. So let's say an estimated start date, we're looking to deliver or start this project in July, so the first week of July. You can put estimated labour costs as well as expenses if you want to. If I just give that a save and close. Now we can also define, so now we've got the project in place, we can also define when we want to start the billing and what the frequency is. And this is all down to how you want to bill the customer. So I've got it on a bi-monthly basis, but let's say I also want to start my billing on the 1st of July as well. Now with all this information filled in, firstly, if I go into the quote line details, now remember the project template that we associated to this quote line, I can actually import the project estimates from that template into the quote line details. So here we can see our tasks against that template, and we can see, for instance, what roles that we will need to complete the tasks. For example, task 1.1, we need a consulting lead between these dates, and this is the price it's going to cost us on a day rate. Now we can then amend any of these values if we wanted to. We can also add new quote line details into the quotation as well if we wanted to as well. So this gives us a more of a certain base of what this project's actually going to cost us from a delivery standpoint. And then also from an invoice schedule, based upon the estimated start date and the billing frequency and the requested delivery date, we can then start to generate these periodic milestones, and it will look at, right, these are the billing frequencies that we're looking at for this specific quotation, and we're looking to build them out on these days based upon the dates that we put in. Now, with all this information then filled in against the quote line, what we'll then see is if I actually go back into my quote and give the form a refresh so it can calculate the new costs that we put in. Within the profitability analysis, if I just actually calculate some of these fields here, what you'll see, if I just do this as well. Yeah, so I've calculated all of those. Let's give the page a refresh. In these tabs, we can get a breakdown on what our quotation looks like versus the customer's expectation. So we can see we've got some key metrics. We can see the total cost of the project is going to be about 10K, 10.5K. Total revenue is 14K. We're looking at gross margin of 24%. And overall, this is going to be a profitable project for us to deliver. I can also see from the graphs what my costs of the projects are going to be across the time frames. If this is a bigger project, you'll see a larger time frame within this graph here. But we can also see what the roles are going to be costing us for the overall project as well. So from here, the consulting lead is going to be my most cost-effective role. In the comparison to customer expectations tab, again, looking at what the customer budget is versus what the quote value is, as well as the delivery dates, we can see that this quotation is expected to finish early. We're within the customer budget and we're within the customer's expectations. So these are all green ticks for a sales rep to say, right, with all these indicators, I can now happily go back to the customer with a proposal of this or quotation to deliver this project. Now, within the quote, we can make multiple revisions, and we can also send a copy of the quote via email through document management. So we can create them a hard copy of a PDF, and have that all saved within the record within CRM as well. Now, sometimes we might want to do specific pricing against a project as well. So that's where in the project pricing list tab, we can create a custom price list for this specific project if we wanted to, and then make the relative amendments against each of the costings for each lines that we're quoting for. But once we're happy with the quote, the customer is happy with the quote, they confirm yes, they want to go ahead, we can then convert the quotation into a contract. So this is where if I close this as one, this quotation will then sum up my contract for the project. And here you can see this is now the project contract that we've agreed with the customer. Now I can then associate the contract hard copy to this contract through the document management, or likewise, if we're using e-signatory applications such as DocuSign or Adobe Sign, we can also use the contract record and send it off to the customer for them to then sign back, or within D365. But once we're happy with the contract, I can confirm that as yes, this is a contract in place, and it essentially becomes the end of the cycle from a sales point of view. This is now where we hand off the project and the process through from a sales perspective into a delivery stage, and this is where the project manager then picks it up. So if I actually go into my view of a project manager now, refresh my grid, what we can see is these are all the projects that the project manager is working on. I can see here's my project ABC that we quoted for and won the project. Now within the project record, there's a few things that we can do. Firstly, in the schedule tab. So in the schedule tab, what you'll see is essentially the project plan, so the work breakdown structure that we want to build for this project that we're delivering. So these are the tasks that we've got as part of the plan, and I can simply add or delete specific tasks and make amendments to the project plan. So for instance, let's add a new task. Let's say this task is to be completed on the 14th, and it has also a dependency on task, let's say in this example 2.3. Oops. 2.3. There you go. Now, for people who are more familiar with working in Microsoft projects and using the work breakdown structure and building a project plan within there, you can also use the native integration between the two applications and have the system dynamically updated. So allowing you to then still be able to create your projects or manage your projects within Microsoft projects itself, but having the information dynamically updated back into PSA. When it comes to resources, we can have two types of resources when it comes to booking out. So we've got the generic resource, which you can see here. So these can be anything to do with roles within your resource pool, so things like consulting leads, engineers. If you have designers, then those can be generic resources. And essentially, when we assign a generic resource to a task, we're then going to be later on in the scheduling section looking at who the best fit resources are to fulfill that piece of work. Or alternatively, we can actually book out specific resources against the plan as well. So if we know, for instance, Spencer Lowe is a resource and I know he's going to be part of my project, we can specifically book him out for that specific task and he will be able to fulfill that task. But for these generic resources, what we'll have to do is first request the resource to a resource manager. So let's take this engineer as an example. Within my Teams tab, you can see the list of all my resources as part of my project team. And here we can see for an engineer, we've got a line for a generic resources. And what I can do is, if I highlight that team member, I can generate a requirement. Now, on the generation of this requirement, what happens is this requirement record is created, which will then notify the resource manager to say a project manager needs 8 hours of a engineer role in the resourcing unit of Contoso UK to on these days to fulfill this task. Now, as the project manager is then filling out the project team, they'll be able to do so with all the other generic roles to then have actual people allocated to their tasks. But with that said, let me now jump into the role of a project resource manager. And this is where they'll start looking and working from what we have in the application, the schedule board. Now, what we can see here is just an overview of all the resources. So on the left-hand side, you can see all the resources that I'm working with, and we can see their time allocation on existing projects. So you can see some of them are fully booked out with the 40 hours per week. We can also see there's some spaces for other resources within the view. We can also change the way we're looking at the view, so we've also got different variations. So we can be looking at it from a day's perspective, week's perspective, or even months, even granular against the hours. But if I go back into that request I created as a project manager, what we can see here at the bottom, when we've got my open requirements tab, the resource schedule manager will be able to see, right, there's a requirement for an engineer. And what they can do is click on this find availability button. And what the system will smartly do is look at the requirements for that specific job or task. So what you can see, based upon the roles needed and the resourcing unit that we're looking at, it's brought me back 4 resources that are available on that day to complete that piece of work. If I wanted a bit more information about a specific resource, let's say Jessica Wong, I can actually right click on her profile, look at her resource card to see an actual what her skill sets are, what her actual roles are also that she plays within the organization, and I can do that across all the other resources. So I can find the best fit resource to fulfill this piece of work. Now, let's say, for instance, I want to book out resources across multiple organization units. So in this instance, let's take the US. So I want to look at all the resources in the US and the UK. I can apply that to my filtering condition, likewise with any other specific conditions such as specific roles or specific characteristics. So if they need a specific skill set, I can add that to the search condition as well. But if I click on search here, what we'll see now is a mixture of both UK and US resources who are available to fulfill that piece of work. Now, in order for me just to book that resource out, let's take Jessica Wong as an example. If I hover over that blank space, I can simply click on book, which will then hard book her to fulfill that piece of work. And what you'll see is her 20% her utilization has now gone up by 20%. So if I come out of the search now, Jessica is now booked out for that piece of work. I should change the view to say hours. We can see now Jessica is now booked out for that piece of work. Now, the resource schedule is really cool as well because it can also allow us to move around the project task as well. So if it needed to be reallocated to, say, Jill, in this instance, we can simply drag and drop. But in this instance, I'll leave it for Jessica here. Now, Jessica is allocated to this piece of project work, and the schedule manager has now done his piece, and it's going back to the project manager. So this is where I go back into my project as my project manager role. And within the schedule tab, what we will see is against that line where we had the engineer, Jessica is now resourced out to fulfill that piece of work. Now we'll do that for the rest of all the other tasks, and that will essentially create our team of resources. Now within this additional tabs here, we can see from a timeline perspective, looking at what hours are required based upon what roles. So we're looking at it from a weekly, daily, monthly perspective. So let's say day. From a project perspective, we can see, right, we're going to need 8 hours of a consulting lead for this day, 8 hours on the following day, etc. And we can group it down by different categories if we want to do as well, so by roles or by resource itself. And then we've also got a tab for resource reconciliation. So when we're looking at resources who are being booked out to do a piece of work, let's say Jessica Wong, for instance, we can see she's now booked out to fulfill that 8 hours of work that we booked her out for. But what we can see is also where there's booking shortages or booking excesses. So for instance, Spencer Lowe, we booked him out as a resource, but we just need to hard book him as we've only soft booked him in this instance. So this is where sort of the flexibility of how we can book our resources come into play. So if I click on this extend booking button, I can actually from the project book Spencer as a hard booking against my project. Now, once we have our project in place, we can also use other areas of Microsoft application to support Teams collaboration within a project. So things like Microsoft Teams. So when we have a team in place, if I click on the Microsoft Teams collaboration, we can essentially create a workspace for this project and our team. So let's create a new one. Let's create this as project. We can then add all the team members allocated to this project. So if we have multiple teams, we can add them all in. So once it's all connected, we will now have a project workspace where we can all use the chat as a way of communicating across each other. Search. We've got an area where we can store our files. So all the documents are in one place, but also we've got the actual project record embedded as part of the team itself. So as you see, we've got the full project within the team, and I can actually click in and have the full experience all within my Teams channel. So once I've got all my resources booked out, it's now about the resource fulfilling that piece of work and then entering the timesheets in. This is where I introduce Jessica Wong's profile. Going into the role as a resource now, so moving out of a project manager into a resource. I just want to demonstrate how we can use the timesheet entry functionality within PSA. So I've logged in as Jessica Wong, and it's very simple how we enter the timesheets. We can simply click on a new entry, allocate how many hours we spent on a project task. Let's say it's 8 hours. We can then look at the projects that we are allocated on. So these will only filter out the projects Jessica's associated to. So you can see the new project that we created. Jessica's part of that. And then any tasks that she's associated to as well. So this is the task that we booked Jessica out on. I can then also see this is the role that I'm playing to fulfill that specific task. And we can also add a description or any external comments. Now, if I give that a save, that will then submit a draft entry in my time entries. Now, this is the same experience whether it's on a mobile as well. Now, if I'm happy with this submission, let's say I'm happy with the 8 hours, I can then submit that time entry, which will then be sent over to the project manager for approval. So to jump back into my project manager view, on the left-hand side, I've got an area for approvals where I can see all the time entries that have been submitted for which projects. So if I minimize some of these, what we'll see here, here's the one that I've done just as Jessica Wong. These are the 8 hours. I can review whether that's actually complete or not. If it is, I can simply click on approve, which will then update the project plan with the actuals based upon that time entry. So let's go back into my project. And as you can see, we can start to see the progress the progress completion of this overall project, as well as the cost consumption and what the actuals are from the timesheet entries that we're submitting. So to break this down even further, if we have a look at the estimates tab, these are essentially the costs that we are looking at from a role perspective, or even from an overall project delivery perspective. And these are what the costs are looking at from a weekly perspective, whether it's a day's perspective. And we can look at this from a cost or sales, so we know what we're looking at from a financials point. We can also add additional columns into the view. So if we wanted a bit more information, we can also do that. But then when it comes to the tracking, based upon the line items of the schedule, we can start to see the completion of these tasks. So for instance, that task 1.3 that I allocated to Jessica and submitted a time entry, you can see that's actually 100% completed, which will then calculate up to the overall progress of the project to be 12%. Now, if during the project we might have under allocated or over allocated some effort hours, we can actually change the forecast based upon what we enter into the remaining hours. So let's say, for instance, task 1.1, we actually estimated the hours to be 8 hours, but in fact, we are now estimating this to be a 4-hour piece of work. What happens is, if I start amending what the remaining hours is, as part of our forecast, we can then see that we've got a scheduled variance of 4 hours, which we can then add on to additional tasks later on as part of the project. So let's say task 2.5, we can now predict that this is actually going to be 12 hours piece of work. It will then schedule the variance as -4, but then counteract the +4 that we gained from the previous task. And then we can do this as and when we're progressing through the project itself. And then overall, we then get a status of where we are at the project throughout the cycle. So as we're submitting time entries in, as we're booking out people, and based upon the project plan, we can then get indicators to say, yep, we're on time and we're on budget. Now, when we look at reporting from an overall perspective, we can get different levels of reports. So here, I'm looking at my project management report. So this is where project managers can work off on a day-to-day basis. So we can see all our active projects that we're working on, what the costs are from the actuals versus the estimates, any of the contract milestones that we've agreed, etc. And these are all configurable. And this is where we can use Power BI dashboards. And then we can break the information down from the project records into specific reports. So for instance, looking at resource availability, we can see utilization of resources and when they're most available and when they're starting to free up. So from a resourcing point, we can use Power BI reports to estimate that, as well as overall resources, overall assignments, and so on. Now, with that said, I just want to conclude the demonstration and hand it back over to you, Kevin.
Fantastic. Shilin, thank you. Some really exciting features showcased there. I now just want to switch gears a little bit and take a brief look at some of our live customers benefiting from the Microsoft Dynamics for project services. The first of which is a company called Actavo. So Actavo is a global engineering organization focused on providing support to a variety of markets, delivering business solutions which require a vast amount of professional services activities. Service activities including design, planning, installation of equipment, domestic and commercially, requiring a holistic view of projects, resources and equipment. Advanced scheduling and optimization to meet customer demands is a key feature to Actavo's requirements. When Actavo decided to go out and look at a market for the types of solutions that were out there, they chose to go with Microsoft Dynamics to provide a single platform to unify global information and enable proactive and automated orchestration of jobs and tasks. And Microsoft provided that seamlessly. They also required a solution to drive customer engagement and financing in a single solution. Jointly working together, HSO and Actavo were able to deliver a solution providing up-to-minute information on the health of the business and the performance of the organization overall. The second customer example I'd like to cite is RedCentric. So RedCentric is a UK managed service provider delivering highly available network and cloud solutions and collaborative products to public and private sector organizations. RedCentric required a solution and chose Microsoft Dynamics to implement 365 to provide an adaptable base from which they're able to engage as one to their customers. Dynamics 365 unified critical information, enabling the business to deliver seamless services from job booking to distribution and resource picking and dispatching. The solution at RedCentric enables them to have a global visibility of the service lines and information on the health and efficiency of the engineering team, how they engage with the centralized projects team and the customer services, how the customers are engaging and what type of information is needed in the field. The solution delivered to RedCentric enabled them to deliver a vast amount of professional service activities seamlessly to the customers in a way that can only be imagined through a joined-up approach. Thank you again for your time that you were able to spend with us today. And as an attendee, we have some amazing offers that we would like to offer to you to help you explore these solutions free of charge. Either a business value assessment to understand your business and how these solutions might support you going forward, or if you are on that journey, potentially a pilot study, again free of charge, to help you really explore a solution in a live situation. Please reach out to us to find out more about these offers, and we look forward to engaging with you further. Once again, thank you for your time, and please keep safe.